Let's get to it. It's Tuesday. It's January 24th, 2023. And you know what's going on today? Sports. Like every day this time of year. So we're going to talk about hockey. You're looking at the NHL algorithm, predicts hockey games. We're going to look at NBA, where I'm doing some work, folks. That's right. I set up that comparison pivot. We're making some progress. We still got to write this big macro that looks at doing this automatically, but we're starting to see different distributions and how they result in different wins and losses. Oh, we'll talk about that in the video. And we'll talk about college basketball, reasonable size day for college basketball. All right. First, hockey. Yesterday, this is why you never, ever, 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 ever listen to me and always listen to the algorithm. What did I say? I go, oh, straight better in me thinks that, the Islanders at this really good line and Florida at this good line and Columbus at this good line. All you got to have is one of them win. Guess what? They all lost. Toronto won. The Rangers crushed it 6-2. Buffalo is the underdog that wins, the one that I don't say play. Unbelievable. And Columbus loses in overtime. And guess what I bet? I bet Columbus. I bet Florida. I bet the Islanders. And I bet Dallas. So I go 0-4 when the algorithm goes 3-1. And that's why I lose as a sports bettor, because I'm bad. I don't listen. Well, let's try listening. We can just listen to the algorithm today. Let's just read it. I'm not going to provide any ridiculous personal assessments because while they are helpful to bet against them, I'm just not going to speak. I'm just going to read the algorithm today. It says Boston beats Montreal. Nobody is surprised at that. Nobody is surprised at that. And their line is insanely awful. But says they win like 6-1. So it says they cover. Number 2 pick is New Jersey over Vegas, but they're minus 170. But they are a pretty good team playing well. Vegas also not playing well. Vegas just blew a game to Arizona the other night in Arizona. This game's in New Jersey, so now you got to go to New Jersey. That's what algorithm probably properly picking that off as the number 2 pick. Number 3, Winnipeg over Nashville. Winnipeg's playing excellent. Nashville has dropped off the schneid a little bit in the last few weeks. So Winnipeg minus 115. That's the best line we've seen so far. Number 4, Tampa Bay over Minnesota in a 4-2 game. Line is about consistent with that. Number 5, Colorado over my Capitals, but the win percentage says Capitals, but the Caps have not been playing well since they got everybody back from injury. It's weird. They got like Oshie back, and I think Mantha was a scratch. It's a healthy scratch recently, and weird stuff. They got somebody else back too. It's Backstrom. They got Backstrom back and everything, and then they started losing. I don't know what's happening. So this one's a really, really close game. It's only because Colorado has picked it up and started playing well with Rantanen and McKinnon scoring and them playing well. So there's an extremely close game. Definitely one I'll be watching. I'm a Washington fan and I am in Colorado. I should go. I'm not going to that game. I'm not trying. All the cold and the snow. It's driving through the mountains. It's not like on the East Coast when you go to a game. It's a different element when you got to drive home at midnight and through the mountains on over ice. Anyway, so super close game. One that I will be watching, I guess, on my phone, which is the only way I think they'll be able to watch that game. Number 6, Detroit over San Jose. Both these teams playing like orange junk. So bad team versus bad team role almost at this point makes it a tough game to play. Number 7, Arizona over Anaheim. Boy, it's the battle of bad team Tuesday, guys. I wish you could, bet on teams to all of them lose in the same game. These are some bad teams. San Jose, Detroit really is not playing well. So that Anaheim Arizona game, but Arizona slightly playing better. But this game could go anyway, and the line's about consistent with that. What does it say in that Chicago-Vancouver game? It says Chicago beats Vancouver. It is. It's bad team. Look at Chicago winning 50%, 7% of their games in the last 2 weeks, though. So Chicago's trying not to be a bad team, apparently. So that's at plus 190. But we have a new coach for Vancouver. Oh, good thing I mentioned this. So at home, there is a new coach bump. If we would ever to build a bump into the hockey algorithm, it would involve somebody coming back from injury or a coach making his first start. I mean, it's like there was a few years ago when Craig Berube came into St. Louis and they were in like last place, and he whooped them into shape and they won the Stanley Cup. I was actually in St. Louis for some of the playoffs there, and some of the people there had bets St. Louis to win the Stanley Cup at something like 200-1 odds or something, because they were in like last place and they won a bundle. This was before that bet finalized, but I remember talking to a lady who had that bet. She bet $100 and I think 130-1 on the St. Louis when they right when they like the end of the previous calendar year, like halfway through the season. Really, really amazing stuff. Anyway, so bringing in a new coach, point of that means that I understand why Vancouver's minus 225, even though it says Chicago is playing better and could beat them. I, of course, will take Chicago, so watch me lose. But I know it. I'll come back and I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll be like, yeah, they brought in Rick Tocchet, new coach. Like people want to impress the new coach. Like everyone's trying harder. So Vancouver probably does win that game. And it says they win by point projections. It just says that. See, the only reason it's making it favor Chicago is because Vancouver's been playing so bad. Well, they're not going to play as bad right now because it's, brand new day, brand new coach. If for a team that has a big fan base and wants to start winning. So watch them most likely win that game tonight. It's funny. I can really find out why the algorithm is doing this wrong. And that is why they're playing bad, but they're not going to play bad tonight. They're going to try tonight. So who else do we have? Florida-Pittsburgh game is also really close. Florida's back-to-back tonight, but Pittsburgh has not been playing good. And Florida's woken up a little. Spencer Knight in net says they empirically slightly lose, but it says they're playing better. Here, they could win this game, and that's a reasonable line, so I might try taking them again. LA and Philadelphia, it favors Philadelphia because they're playing better. I don't know. Phoenix Copley is going for LA and not Quick. Yet he's got a much higher rating than Carter Hart. Expect some goals in this game because of this, I think. Although Copley's got a reasonable rating. Tough game to play, though. So that's hockey, guys. All right, we're done with hockey. Good luck. I'd say the pick of the day has to be one of these top picks. It was Winnipeg, right? Because that was the most reasonable line, I think. Yeah, Nashville not playing well. Winnipeg playing great. Empirically, it says they win. They have a better goaltender, and Hellbuck expected he should go because it's not a back-to-back game. Yeah, Winnipeg is probably the hockey pick of the day when it comes to as close to even money lines as you can get there. All right, next, let's go to NCAMM. So college basketball, it didn't have a great day yesterday, but it didn't have an awful day either when you look at it. So just quickly, he lost a bunch of games at the bottom, but some of these were home teams. So or away teams. So there's a home team bump under these percentages. So this stuff got moved around slightly, but like I bet Morgan State because they were home. I bet Kansas actually, because I thought Kansas was going to win, but I bet Alabama A&M and they won. So these are home teams down here. So this isn't all that bad when you're losing away teams at the bottom. That just means we have to incorporate a home bump. Instead of 10-9, you go 14-5. But that's the way you should be looking at this is home teams at the bottom are trouble. And I've always talked about that and talked about the home bump. So that's not bad. For the home teams up top that lost, though, we had Coastal Carolina they came back and then they blew it late. I think they lost in overtime. And then, maybe not. Maybe they lost before overtime. North Carolina Central loses to Maryland Eastern Shore. A team that has upset some teams this year. So this one hurt. This one should have won. But didn't. The rest of them, okay, except below this margin. So you get these two that are at really low margins that also don't win. So it really was not a good day for home teams yesterday. That's what I'm trying to say. So not excellent day. We will be working on distributions in this file, but the distribution we have right now is still pretty darn good. So let's look at today. First thing I look for, are there any home underdogs? Of course not. How about just home teams? Well, you want margins above 10%, right? Which is these teams. And there's a minus 215 with UNLV against an injured Wyoming. So that's very reasonable given how high that is up here. You got injured Oklahoma State against Texas. So Texas probably wins this one. TCU has a bad strength of schedule against Oklahoma. but they're right at that margin, so they're still supposedly bettable. Then you get lower down here, and Boyd does, except for UNLV's situation, which maybe Wyoming has some people coming back today or something, and the injury report needs to get updated. I did update it just now, but that's a really good line for how high this is. So I'm going to be putting UNLV to win on a round robin, and then start messing around down here. This is difficult. You get injury here, injury here. Watch out for Tulsa to win this game, because you got a super injured East Carolina. There's going to be a really good line on Tulsa, and this is pretty close. And the strength of schedule looks bad for East Carolina. This Tulsa's possible upset, or at least Tulsa plus 5.5 is very reasonable. So, but still tough board as always. What about the away teams? A lot of injuries with Missouri and Mississippi. Ohio State's really injured against Illinois, which is why they're on the road. So Illinois could win this at home, but they're a favorite. Kansas State may beat Iowa State because of injury. So this is a good line. Even though the margin is just barely in favor at no home bump for an away team, the injuries might push this over the top in favor of Kansas State. So Kansas State is bettable. I think I'll take that. It says take Missouri up here. A lot of injuries. When both teams are injured, I get a little confused, but there's a 14% margin. The only ones above 20% are Kent State and Miami. And Miami is minus 155. They could be Florida State. Wow. So that's kind of reasonable. Away teams above 20% generally win. So that's another one. So there's some things to take today in college basketball. Now I want to go to NBA, and I want to discuss what I'm doing with NBA, because it's difficult to know what distribution to use. So yesterday, with whatever distribution I have now, and stuff's kind of backdated, stuff gets confusing because I'm really working with this file while I'm doing this. This is kind of what it looked like. There were so many injuries on the Celtics yesterday, but that isn't frozen. That's today's injuries for the Celtics. I'm going to get really complicated. Let me try to back up and dumb it down. Things are in flux when it comes to NBA. And I don't know if this distribution is great. Okay. Which means I don't know if this order is great today. But we're working to solve this problem. And how do we do that? Because I keep hiding and unhiding stuff. We do it by this. We go, what's combo number 6 do? And we refresh, and we show a slightly different order. Now, here's what's really cool. So I grab the cube history real quick, which is not going to have today. It's only going to have yesterday. Oh, God, I got so many complicated things going on. You then grab a testing cube I have here. I'm going to paste this thing in the testing cube and pull down this formula. And then I'm going to go to the compare pivot here and watch this. This is a list of all the different historical stats we have. Combo number 6 all of a sudden pops up. And combo number 6 historically over all these games that we have here, I'll show you how many are, actually would have been the best one, believe it or not. Let me show you that process one more time. Okay. You go into the results pivot, you change the toggle number to a different combo string. The percentages change all of a sudden. We get a different thing. We get a different view of everything. We go grab all of our history. Now the entire season is in here that we have, entire season. Okay. And then we put it at the bottom of the testing cube. We add it to the records of our testing cube. And then we pull this formula down, which I'll pull this formula down further in the future, and I'll have a macro do all this automatically. But then when we go back to the compare pivot, we have a new combination string that just showed up, and we have its win-loss percentage. Like this one was worse than number 6. This one only wins 59% of their games. Now, here's where things really get cool. Okay, so this pivot table, and this is going to be now a video about how to manipulate information in pivot tables. This is complicated. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's complicated to visualize all this, but it's also in a drag and drop format, and you can't really screw up anything because you can always just press undo. You can always just press undo. You can always just press Control Z. You know, it's funny because I shouldn't say funny, but it is a story, and I'll relay it because yeah, I like to relay stories about people that have passed away. So I was once doing work and there was a guy, his name is Mike White, actually, and like the quarterback for the Jets, but it's not him. I was doing work and I got all anxious because I did something and I screwed up, right? Like I moved something and I screwed up and I go, oh, and he just looked at me and he goes, dude, it's like Control Z. It's like undo. And I was like, oh yeah. And it always calmed me down whenever I'm working with something that I'm not going to screw up anything indefinitely. And he, unfortunately, it's a sad story, but he killed himself. And he made an action that you cannot do a Control Z on. But whenever I think about Control Z, whatever, I think about him. So I will always relay that story. Anyway, don't be afraid of screwing up. You're not going to make a life-ending decision in this pivot table. What you are going to do is you're going to be able to look at things in different orders and find out what the best distributions are and find out where teams win and lose the most in different distributions. There's going to be so many awesome things to do. What do I mean? Well, let's talk about this. For example, under all these distributions, we could start saying, let's create a slicer, okay, for team. We have now all the teams that are in the NBA. And we could say, according to all these different distributions, how often did it pick the Atlanta Hawks? And ooh, what does this do? This shows you how you go 22 and 18 or 22 and 19 with the Hawks. That's weird. Oh, because we have one more game in here. So we get the same record for that team every time. Is this always going to be like that? Wins and losses. Oh, do we need to filter for margin? Oh, yeah, our margins are negative. Hold on a second. We need to, oh, that's right. All right, so here's what we need to do is we need to add the game ID in here. I know what's going on. All right, so we've got what we've got is a pivot table with all these different records. This is combo one's results, for example, is what you're looking at here. Combo one says it's 580 and 580 when it comes to wins and losses. Well, it's not, obviously. That's just all the games it's showing. And the reason why it's showing all the games is because we have to filter this pivot table. So we're going to go into the field list, and there's a game ID number, I believe. Maybe not. I need to add one. I think I need to add one. Or some type of record number. We're going to add a record number in the testing cube because I think we need it. Yeah, we've got combo number and I'm going to add a record number. That's the next thing we're going to do. I'll explain why. It's not even going to be game ID. It's going to be record ID. Record ID. So the record ID that we're going to add is just simply going to be all numbers in order. Okay. It's going to be really easy. And the reason why we're doing that is now we're going to bring it into the pivot table. So when I refresh the pivot table, now all of a sudden we have record ID as an option. We're going to bring record ID as the last thing that shows up here. Meaning when you look at the date of the game, the team playing, you're going to get a record ID on that game and whether or not it was a win or a loss. So the Celtics is who the algorithm picked under combo one, and they won the game is what this means. So what we're doing now is we don't want to look at the game where whoever the Celtics played, which I could grab the opponent, and I think I will. I have that option. There's opponent. Opponent is right here. We're going to bring the opponent next to team. So Boston was playing Philadelphia. So you have two sides of this game here. So you've got Boston and Philadelphia. Well, Boston won. The algorithm had a 0.1 margin for Boston with our distribution in this game, meaning we only want to look at this game because we don't care about predicting the Sixers loss. That's not the way we call it a win. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to record ID, value filters, greater than, the margin has to be greater than 0. And guess what disappears? All the losing games. And now it works. Now, let's start to answer these questions. So, alrighty. Watch this. So with the 7 distributions we've done, and keep in mind that we will have thousands of distributions that are going to be automatically created with a macro when we're done with this project this week. It will get done this week. I see this getting done this week. You start to see, all right, now, our best distribution is distribution 6, first of all, so far. We have thousands to add to this to get an answer. And I don't know which one to use. So that's why I prefaced the beginning of this video, which I don't know what to tell you yet about NBA. I'm in the middle of this. So like, don't trust this thing as good as the NCAA one right now. I don't know what distribution to use. So, well, let's check now, look by teams for a second. So like Atlanta. So here we go. So this distribution does better with Atlanta. The one that's the best, which is number 6, does the same as all these other ones with Atlanta. So let's back up and talk about what we're looking at. Somebody asked me if I could check, all the distributions and how different teams did under all the distributions. Yes, that's what we're doing. So, like for example, watch, we can flip stuff around. I guess the other way, like check this out, right? You can flip stuff around. You can grab team and put it before combo number. We'll do it in the field list. Grab team, put it before combo number. And now all of a sudden you show, oh, that's cool. You show each team's distribution by combo, just like that. That's sick. So now what you're seeing is you're seeing how many times these teams won and under which combos they won. And it makes me want to, why are they 16 and 10 and only 7 and 4? That's confusing. Is that how many times it picked them? Is only 7 times, maybe? Oh, wow. This is fascinating. Yeah, I'm going to learn about what we're looking at, but I believe like, for example, under combo string 2, the algorithm only picked Atlanta to win 11 times and they won 7 of them. Okay. And here it picked him 26 times. So we almost want to see a number of games played that are included in here. And I could do that. It's just going to be a count of wins plus losses is really all it's going to be. We could add a calculated field. I'm talking out of myself here, but yeah, like watch this. Like here's how you do a calculated field. So you go up here, you go to the pivot table, you go to field sets, item sets, calculated field, and we're going to call this thing total games. And it's going to be is it's going to be equal sign. I know you probably can't see this, but equal sign wins plus losses. Add. Okay. And now all of a sudden the sum of the games show up. All right. And I'm going to move this over here. So now you see exactly how many games it was. So that's interesting, right? Because when you look at one team at a time, you see that different combinations did different things. Oh, that's so cool. So the one that's winning more is the one that's not picking Atlanta as much. Get it? Does that make sense now? The one that won the most times didn't pick Atlanta as much because they're not winning. How about the Celtics? See, combination string 1 crushes it with the Celtics, and it picks them 35 times. Right? Let's put some color conditional formatting on this game. And let's apply that to all the games so that when we see the games, they appear, we know when we picked a team more and less. So, okay, fascinating. Yeah, look at that. So the one that won the most is the one that picked the Celtics the least. Only 35 times it picked the Celtics. Wow. So weird. Brooklyn. But we have thousands of combinations to go through. We're going to be able to sort all these combinations by like say you always want to sort it by best money line win. You'll start to see the combos that show up on top. And when you look at all of the teams, the combo on top is the one that's winning the most. Okay, how about that? 5, 1, 6, 5, 3, 5. Again, 1, 7, 1. That's pretty distributed. 3. Oops, don't do that. Bring this down. Collapse this entirely. We were coming to the conclusion that number 5 was the best, but it's not true. There's too much information here. 1, 2, yeah, it's all spread out. And these are all going to have different distribution percentages attached to them. They're all going to have, different weights. That's what these combinations are. Combination 1 is 20% wins and losses, 20% average points per game, 5% possession. It's this distribution. So as we mess around with this, we're going to figure out which variables are contributing to the most wins. All right. So let's bring this back down to team. And which team? Wow, it never, ever, ever picked the Pistons. That can't be right. Is that right? No, sorry, I picked them 8 times and lost. Yeah, sorry, I did pick them 8 times. Picked them 8 times. They just never won when we picked them. Wow, under these distributions. That actually, we're only picking Detroit like once. Hold on, we're picking Detroit twice and once. It is never picking the Pistons. That's crazy. And it's rare with Houston. Oh, okay, we're starting to get somewhere. All right, guys. So I hope that helps explain what I'm doing to be able to do the analysis, to have, to really be a true algorithm, an algorithm that spits out a combination string that gives you the best historical win percentage. And also one more thing, let's do one more slicer before we're done here. Let's look at date real quick. Which one did best yesterday? Click yesterday. It was combo number 6. The other ones have errors. I don't know why. I don't know what I did. Because those games weren't finished yet. What about the day before? The day before it was combo number 1. Yeah, I think because I back tested it. What about the day before that? It was combo number 7, 5, 2, and 4 all go 5 and 2. But combo number 1 is way at the bottom. Wow, boy, it's going to be interesting to find consistency. Then it was 5 and 4 for combo 1 and combo 6. So combo 1, yeah, 80%. Combo 1 is starting to show up at the top in a lot of these. But here it was combo 7 that would have had a 7 and 2 day. So this is becoming a beast. I can smell it. This is becoming a beast. So once you get the macro running, once we get the macro running, all we have to do is press a button and this is going to change. It's going to go 8, copy, refresh, 9, 10, all the way up to 1,000 or 10,000 or however many we combinations we put in here. It's going to do it all. It's going to compile the cube here. It's going to allow us to just simply refresh this and we'll have all, thousands of combinations showing up and win percentages and everything. So that's exciting. And then I'll do the same exact thing for college basketball where there are even more games. And then you can run this every day and find out what the best combination was for yesterday and start to keep track of those combos. What'll be fun to do will be to give these combos like a different name or something like that. And, we'll be like, best one so far. Best one, right? We'll give them names and then we'll be able to sort through those names. So every day when you're considering, which teams to take and you want to use this to run a bunch of different combinations for the day that we're looking at, which we would be able to do, you could start to see which teams filter to the top frequently. And I think that was actually what the spirit of the question that the person had was. They're like, could you look through a bunch of different combinations and see how many times the team shows up on top or would be favored? And the answer is yes. Yes, you will absolutely be able to do that with 8 of the macro. So things are getting actually exciting in a sport I don't follow that much. So that's why I want to design the numbers to really do this for me, because I can't watch any of the games and make any of my terrible, terrible assessments, except about hockey, where I usually know what I'm talking about. All right. So good luck, everybody. May all your picks be winning. We're still at work and it's still busy end of January, and we'll keep on working, keep on trucking. Good luck. Picks be winning.